Before the rifles, before the wolves, before the hunger, there was the cold. In the vast, unforgiving wilderness of 18th and 19th century North America, pioneer families faced sub-zero temperatures that could kill a grown man in just a few hours. But these settlers didn't simply endure the cold. They outsmarted it. And, well, the weapon they relied on most wasn't fire. It was each other. This is the story of how ordinary men, women, and children turned shared body heat into a sophisticated survival science, and why the lessons they learned in those drafty log cabins still matter to anyone serious about fieldcraft and preparedness today. Heating the person, not the room. Walk into a pioneer cabin on a February night in the Wisconsin wilderness, temperature sitting at -30, and you'd immediately understand the problem. The fireplace roars, yet your breath still fogs in front of your face. Heat bleeds through every gap in the log walls, every crack around the door frame, rising straight up through a roof that was never meant to hold warmth. The pioneers understood almost immediately that trying to heat the room was a losing battle, a drain on precious firewood reserves and human energy alike. So they stopped trying. Instead, they concentrated every available source of warmth directly around human bodies. Heavy wool layers went on before sleep, wool being uniquely valuable because it insulates even when damp, trapping body heat in its dense fibers regardless of the moisture from breath and perspiration that accumulated through the night. Brass bed warmers, packed with glowing coals, were run between the sheets minutes before the family climbed in, establishing a base temperature that bodies then worked together to maintain and build upon. Soapstone, denser and more thermally stable than ordinary rock, was pulled from the fire's edge and wrapped in cloth, placed at the feet of sleepers where circulation is weakest and cold tends to win first. What looks to modern eyes like simple poverty, an entire family sharing one or two beds, was in reality a carefully engineered survival system. Parents, children, grandparents, and sometimes even traveling strangers huddled together beneath layers of quilts and animal hides, their combined body heat creating a microclimate beneath the covers that could sit 20 to 30 degrees warmer than the surrounding cabin air. Four-poster beds with heavy drawn curtains weren't a decorative luxury. They were insulation, creating a small enclosed chamber that trapped radiant heat and blocked the drafts that prowled every corner of the cabin floor. Children were often paired together in their own beds specifically because, well, smaller bodies lose heat faster and benefit most dramatically from shared warmth. There was no sentimentality in the arrangement. It was pure survival mathematics. Everybody in that bed was both a heat source and a heat receiver, the system working only because everyone contributed and everyone drew from it equally. On the most brutal nights, the kind where the temperature drops so fast that the wood in the walls cracks like gunshots, even human body heat wasn't enough. That's when the livestock came in. A single cow generates roughly the same thermal output as a small wood stove, and in a sealed one-room cabin. That warmth was the difference between waking up and not waking up. The smell was considerable. The noise was disruptive. But pioneers were practical people, and practicality meant setting aside comfort in the service of survival without hesitation or apology. This wasn't unique to North America. Scandinavian farmers, Siberian herders, and indigenous communities across cold climate regions independently arrived at the same solution across centuries. Proof that when human survival is genuinely at stake, ingenuity converges on the same answers, regardless of culture or geography. What the pioneers mastered wasn't just a collection of cold weather tricks. It was a fundamental shift in survival philosophy, the understanding that resources, including human warmth, are multiplied through cooperation and wasted through isolation. The lone wolf doesn't survive a Wisconsin winter. The family that shares a bed, pools its wool, and tends each other's cold feet does. For today's bushcraft practitioner and preparedness-minded viewer, that principle translates directly. Modern fieldcraft, too, often romanticizes solitary self-sufficiency, but the historical record is clear. The most resilient communities were those that built systems of shared resource management, leaned into collective warmth, literal and otherwise, and refused to waste energy on pride when survival demanded cooperation. If this episode sparked something in you, that deep recognition that the old ways carry real wisdom, then you're exactly who this channel exists for. Subscribe to Fieldcraft Chronicles so you never miss an episode, and share this video with someone in your life who values history, self-reliance, and the timeless art of survival. The knowledge that kept these pioneers alive through impossible winters deserves to be remembered. Help us keep it alive.